All right. Welcome back to another moment in time with me. Beautiful terrain, beautiful area. Starting out in Morrison Ranch. It's very scenic. Got the trees, you got the fences and the little bougainvillea bushes. All right, let's go this way. Some kids on e-bikes, fishing. Today I was thinking about how we show care to anyone we care about or anything we care about. Because I'm going to clean the house and thinking about how it's so frustrating how we can't have to maintain it, how we have to, the upkeep, cleaning, repairing, that can seem bothersome. But when you think about it, you kind of have to clean and maintain anything you care about. That's how you show that you care. You show your care by maintaining it, by putting in care. So then I got to thinking about why that is and how showing care creates care. Putting in receives back. And that applies to so many things in life that are even just conceptual. So you put into something you want to build or create, you get back a beautiful creation, something you can be proud of. I know so many creators online are making stuff, whether or not it matters to anyone else, it matters to them. And the final result, they themselves can learn to love and appreciate the creation for themselves, even if it matters to nobody else. You show someone your photography, and to you it was so impactful, the moment, and looking at that photography, it's so beautiful and perfect in your eyes. But it may not feel the same to somebody else that did nothing for it. And so you might feel like, why does nobody appreciate my stuff? And that's natural. But we create for us. We create for our experience, and it's geared for us. We each have our own individual taste. I have certain taste in visuals, aesthetics, like this street here full of trees. That's my vibe. One of my vibes. I think it's so beautiful and so peaceful. And some people really like it. Some people prefer otherwise. And that's just going back to the individual value of individuals. But we can see in everything that we approach, we can see that if I want this to mean more to me, I need to invest more in it. If I want this to be more valuable, if I want it to be like family, I've invested a lot in my family because that was my priority. Now they're adults. My kids are adults. And I still care about them and I still invest in them, but in a different way that doesn't take as much active time, so I can invest in different things too, while they invest in themselves and I invest my portion. But now to step back and watch as they take over their lives, and I'm more of a passive part, and I'm getting into rediscovering what matters to me, what I want to create out of my experience of this world, then all of a sudden everything starts waking up from years before, where I used to pay attention to myself. I used to care about my own joy, my own happiness. You know, I derived joy from the joy I brought my kids before, but now they're on their own. They got their friends, they got their schedules. I can't just keep waiting for another moment of joy with them to bring me joy. So now I'm finding it myself. This is a very good family neighborhood, like tons of grass, parks, wide open fields. But it's funny how all this space, if you just stop and look around, tons of grass fields, parks, playgrounds. And it's nice that it's not super popular, that not a lot of people, for me, that comes out and enjoys these places. It's good that all the people that live here don't enjoy it as frequently as me that doesn't live here. You know, we all care about, those of us who care about America, the beauty that it is, the potential that it has, and what we stand for, what we want to stand for. Love and freedom for all. But in protecting what we care about, we do need to have limits and guard the sovereignty of what we stand for. And so we have to look out for people that don't care about our country as much as us. I don't want to get too political in a divisive way, because that's not how I flow, because I've been watching the progress of politics in the nation and the political landscape online, and it's very divisive, or it has been, starting to come back together. But it's coming back together because people want it to come back together. We want the individuals to unite in common purpose and values. And not everybody always stood for the same values, and that's fine. But we need to be able to protect our values and see the value in each other's values. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at, getting all political and stuff, is I was thinking about our flag, red, white, and blue, and how it, you know, I'm sure it was designed for one purpose in its layout and everything, and for some people that's what it means. But for me, I've created a whole new kind of symbolic design about it in my head, like what the symbols, the design and everything stand for and can stand for. So the way I see it, there's blue and red, the left and right, the liberals and the conservatives, Democrats and Republicans. What I see that as is two different values, two different forces that work together in the country. They're both included on the flag, not just red or blue. But the blue is up with the stars. The blue being the liberals, their purpose has always been and is very powerful, very strong purpose of exploring the unexplored, reaching out, trying something new, going beyond, the sciences and the all the edge cases when people are being overlooked, looking out for the small guy, caring about the things that mainstream day-to-day life may overlook. And I think that's beautiful. And for a long time, I had really grown a value for what they stood for. Obviously, it was before a lot of the corruption that eked its way into that community. There's corruption in both sides. Anywhere there's an opportunity for corruption, there's going to be corruption there. So as individuals, our opportunity is to look past the corruption and see, based on what I know about your true value, you collectively as a liberal group have this value to add to the country. And you collectively as a conservative group have this value. So liberals have always been the best at caring for the small guy, changing laws, and discovering new things through science and whatnot. That's beautiful, and it has a place, a very important place. And the conservatives, the value that they play is in conserving what is tested and true. The values that this country has experienced, learned from through wars and otherwise. Obviously, some people on both sides want more wars for greed and power and corruption and all that. But that's not what I'm talking about. The wars that were unfortunate and necessary to help us explore freedom. A lot of the things that pushed us into some of those wars was a liberal value of getting something new that's better, like freedom, when we were oppressed. In the past, when our country was ruled by other countries, obviously, you need people that are willing to push outside that and think beyond that to initiate the conversation. But some things that they might try don't work. Some efforts they make may not work. And if you don't learn from your mistakes and conserve what actually works in different cases, so like for instance, have a governmental structure that holds on to, like the way I foresee it, the way I think that it should evolve to and can very quickly if people get on board with the concept, is that, it's ridiculous that the government's been run by Republicans or Democrats, liberal or conservative. It's always needed to be both. They just have different places. And conservatives, being the ones that conserve, are the steady rock, the foundation, all that. But the branches, the arms of the government to reach out and discover new things, that's definitely something liberals are better at. And by liberal and conservative, it's like a personality trait. Some people are just born more in touch with the conservative concept where they're protectors, they're powerful but stable and secure, and they don't like too much change because their strength is to see, value, and understand what has worked. While the liberals' value has always been to, okay, there's all this stuff that has worked, but let's not limit ourselves right there. Let's reach out and keep advancing forward, being progressive and whatnot. Of course we want to do that. We're an evolving society. We need evolution. And a true conservative isn't trying to evolve. He's trying to settle into what works. And there's some definite value to having a peaceful home to get home to, find what's comfortable and familiar. But the liberal value of discovering new should definitely not be snuffed. But it needs to be managed with care because it is so out there and willing to risk it all to bring us new advancements and new ideas and stuff. But because of that, they're out there flying around at such neck-breaking speeds that sometimes they need somebody to give them a little stability in a structure that has worked, that's conserved to have worked. But if the right and the left fight against each other, then both overlook the value of the other, and nobody gets the value to integrate into their own lives. So they get, a liberal-minded person will go out liberally thinking of all these new concepts and just trying stuff and burning through money or making huge mistakes where people are killed in the process, or there's so many outcomes that can happen from a reckless liberal concept where they're not protected by, hey, ahead of time, let's sit down and talk. We've tried that once upon a time in this case, that didn't work, so let's tweak it a little. I see what you're going for. Let's find something that works for everyone and that we haven't already tried and doesn't work, or a way that we haven't tried it. And the conservative mind of holding on to what works and really protecting it from people that might want to just shift everything up, change everything. That's very critical too. And to me, it's, the whole masculine, feminine energies, which any man or woman can share an extent of each. Some people have an abundance of one or another. Neither one is more important than the other. But what is more important than either is both working in union. And so, man or woman that really wants to get out and be progressive, do it. But look to your brother that wants to, or sister that wants to contain the sanctity of what they love and know and what works, and see, I agree with that. That's valid and important. And as long as both sides can look at the other side with love and appreciation for their potency, their valid perspective and strengths, there's no reason we can't find the unity that everyone talks about, because it'll be a unity that's so much more powerful than people think. It's like 1 + 1 = whatever you want it to. Because it's like, for instance, if you have one person trying to discover something new, launch a rocket to Mars, and another person says, that's never been done before, so stop trying. Well, it's right, it's never been done before, but it's not right to stop trying. Now, should they dump all their money into it and give up on home security and family values and things like that, just to put all this time and effort and energy and money into getting to Mars? No. But if there's room for both to act together, then what has been conserved can be then invested and applied into the new concepts. There's no reason one needs to be cut out. And so my take on government and on politics and on protecting and maintaining what is ours and what we love and care about is that if conservatives can appreciate and love and find a place in government, in all the little aspects of governing and, on federal, state, every level, a place where the liberal concept and mindset is not just tolerated, but loved and appreciated and greatly cherished and valued when it's not handled erratically. And up until now, there have been, because of this division, because it's me versus you, it's either you're right or I'm right. And so since I know I'm right, it's not you. and then those people turn into hating each other. And yeah, nobody's gonna value the strengths of another person that they hate. They're not gonna admit it to themselves or see it, or they'll try to see anything but it. But we can push past that. We can evolve past that. We already are. Internally, individually. It's just taken a while for the government layout to match. There's a lot of individuals I know that are like, why can't we all just get along? I agree with a little of the left and a little of the right. It's not about this one or the other. But a lot of times people don't understand which place each one serves. So for instance, I feel, my personal opinion is that the structure should be built and maintained by those who know how to build and maintain a structure. And then the modifications, additions, and stuff like that should be presented by those who get out and do all the research and discovering of new stuff, which is usually more of that mindset that liberals maintain. And in doing so, you'll hold on to what matters, and everyone can agree that something matters and we need to protect it. And some people will say, okay, that's important. You're good at that, do it. I'm going to go off and discover new things up in the stars. That's the way I see it, is the stars, okay? The stars in the flag, in the blue, are the liberals reaching out and discovering new stuff and bringing it back to home. And the red stripes and everything, that's the foundation. That's the farmlands that have been sown through the toil and strife of all the past generations, and compacted down with awareness, understanding, knowledge of how it all has worked in the past. They don't know how it will work in the future. In fact, I think the liberal mindset is more open to discovering some of those new things in the future, but some are wrong. Some are right, some are good, some are wrong, some are harmful. And they want to believe in everything. They want to believe in, oh man, this seems like a cool concept, let's just do it. And if we have a government run by, let's try this, nope, okay, fail, try this, fail, then there's no structure. But if we have one that's just structure, it gets stagnant, it gets to where everyone just tries to hold on to their power because we know that we can do a good job and I'm afraid of change. And so then they try to become, monarchs or something at some point, some people. And that's not good either. So I believe we're in a good place. I believe we're in a place where no matter how you feel about any individuals in the government, there is actually quite a balance creeping in where there's a lot of people with a forward-thinking, positive, liberal mindset stepping into positions of power and really speaking to a better way of running that liberal movement within a firm, structured, conservative government. We conserve what we know and at the same time reach out for what we don't. and connection and discovering new cultures and how we can integrate them without losing the value of ours, of what we created. And I feel like there's no better place than America to experience a visceral flavor of each individual culture that has integrated its way in a healthy way. But there are definitely movements trying to happen right now that, and mostly more in the past, luckily, that are trying to completely wash out the culture that America has developed by saying we need to protect so much all these other cultures ahead of our own. Otherwise, they'll get washed off the face of the earth. But I don't think that's the case. It never needs to be one or the other. And what will evolve will evolve. You know, if eventually one culture doesn't have its place in a certain area, then it'll fade away. And if that's what natural evolution does, you know, then any individuals that care about it can cherish it until the day they die. It's like an individual that has so much beautiful value to people that know them, but not everyone's going to know them and appreciate them. And eventually when they die and pass on, their memory, as beautiful as it was for those people, will fade away through generations. So it's not something, we don't need to keep pushing artificially for things to be held on to, but we can derive the lesson from them and integrate it into the future. And to me, it just seems so easy. It seems so clear. And I don't think that there's a lot of people out there. I mean, I think a lot of people in high positions of power can comprehend and understand my point and see the value of the both. But I just feel like there's too much public energy going towards, well, this opposing force is wrong in this way, and this is why we've been held back is because of them doing this wrong. Or no, it's never been that. It's always been something that we could fix by turning inward and going, hey, yeah, they're acting a little crazy. Why are they acting a little crazy right now? Because we haven't taken care of them the way we should have. Like, for instance, if we had a truly good conservative government, and obviously no government's going to be perfect, but the contents of our government can if they truly could value the concept of there's a place for liberal mindset value to add to this nation we're trying to create, then yeah, it's going to happen, because we're going to reach out to them and say, hey, you're actually better than me in this regard. I need your help. Let's work together. And that person can say, okay, and I agree, you know better how to structure our findings and results to set them into place, instead of having us just washing left and right with the tides or with the winds. So very, very quickly, I believe, if people can just hear this message with their heart, they can see that, you know, there's no reason one side, in the past, yeah, in a divisive world, in this duality, we've been living in division for so long. So yeah, everything, media and everything, was trying to push us to see us as right, them as wrong, us versus them, men versus women, white, black, you know, all that stuff. But no, each one has a perspective, a unique perspective that adds so much to the mix. You don't want a single ingredient soup. You want to find things that complement each other, things that bring more depth and value to the mix without clashing, obviously. You know, you don't put chocolate chips in your salsa. I mean, actually, I wouldn't put that past some people. Dark chocolate and spicy, but you know what I mean. I look forward to seeing what we're going to create now, because we do have a good mix, and I think it's in the right order. I feel like the conservatives being in charge of the structure, but now opening it up to the value of the liberal mindsets and the individual, personal, private mindsets to have something to add to the story. It's not perfect yet, but it's definitely headed in a direction that I think we can really make good use of, and really bring out the beauty, richness, and value of harmonizing. You know, you got the bass note, you got the bass thump, 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 the beat, the melody that sets the tone for the song, and then you got harmony to come in and make it so much more rich and beautiful. And neither one is anywhere near as good without the other. So why we can't see that collectively in governmental situations and stuff is kind of baffling to me. But I see it starting to come into view, and a lot more people are starting to see my vision. And as long as we can help gently guide the people that can't, you know, gently guide, meaning you don't just shove it down their throat, because that never worked, because that's still you pushing your viewpoint onto somebody else like theirs is worse. No, they probably thought through some stuff you never thought of. And so that's what I'm discovering, getting out, discovering people, witnessing the world around me, individuals from every walk of life. We're all the same people. We all want good. We all have different ways of looking for it and ways of approaching achieving it and managing it. So if we just give ourselves the benefit of the doubt that we are all working in the same direction for the same goal, then you go into a conversation with those people with that in mind. You say, okay, this person I'm about to talk to cares in some form, and the way they speak it may not be my native language, my native way of thinking of things. And so I need a translator, or I need to stop and really try to pick apart what they're saying and say, okay, it sounds to me like you're saying this. Is that what you're saying? Okay, I see the heart in that. Let's find a combination of the heart of that and the structure of what works, what's been proven, and put that together. And even if an individual that's very geared towards discovering the new understands the value of structure, they may not be very skilled at it because they've put so much value towards creating this forward-thinking mindset. And so we can't do everything alone. We need the other person. Hey, man, you're really good at establishing a stable household and family and structure of business and everything. I have so many fresh new ideas to offer, but you don't, but there's no room for me in the current structure. Can we discuss how we can fit a little of us in, a little of these open new ideas that you're also, you know, a lot of times somebody that has structure, they understand the concept, the necessity of thinking fresh and new and forward, but maybe they're not skilled at it. So they need the help of those other people that are more geared for that, but they can't ask for it if they keep pushing away saying, you're wrong, I'm right. So anyway, I could go on and on. I would love to hear people's thoughts on it. The flag of freedom is red and blue combined. The white is the space in between. The white is the unifying value. It's the red plus blue equals red, white, and blue. The white is the spirit of the unity between two entities that are polar opposites in value, but can look past that to find their commonalities and the value of working together. The value of, you have a skill. You have a beautiful skill that's worth this much. My beautiful skill is worth this much. But together, they're worth so much more that it becomes this new creation of something way more powerful. And the red, white, and blue, to me, symbolizes the unity of the two. And we've been betraying that for too long in our country. trying to think, oh, this is a red country or a blue country. Oh my gosh. It's like if a bird, we call it left wing, right wing. If a bird had one wing or the other, either way, it's useless. It's hopping around on the ground, a crippled bird. And it doesn't mean it's valueless. The individual left-winged bird has value, but it can't fly. It doesn't have freedom. It's held back by its own struggles, its own problems, its own inability to establish something solid and pure and good and proven. And the value of a right-wing bird is valuable, but it still can't fly. It can't fly because it structures itself into its own little prison, and it's too afraid to step out and explore new things. But with two wings, I picture an eagle, white bald-headed eagle with a red wing and a blue wing. And both wings need to flap. One can't flap faster than the other. We do need that core to hold the two wings together and to tell which one to flap when and how they should flap. And that's what our government is trying to be, or needs to try to be, which it needs a structure, but it also needs a heart. That heart beating in the structure is necessary. And the structure without, with just a heart can't live on its own, and a body without a heart can't. But the way I see it is the body, the active, the do, is the conservatives movement, and the heart of desiring something new, reaching out, discovering love and concepts that aren't physical and structural. That's something liberals are best at. And by liberals, I mean, people with this heart of forward thinking, not just the people that have been standing for the liberal movement of past years, which, man, that really got out of control. And I want to talk more on that maybe the next time, because masculine and feminine energies, I touched on it a tiny bit before, are very mirrored in so many other aspects to the world. And it's a very valuable concept to wrap your mind around and apply to so many things in the world, because then you can value each other. If you can see each other for being different and value it instead of trying to make everyone the same, man, this world has so much beauty. The red, white, and blue symbolizes something. Thanks for joining me. If you have any thoughts on the topic, or if I misspoke or whatever, feel free to let me know, and so I can clarify. But this kind of mindset too, nobody can really argue with me. Nobody can really hate on me for this concept, because it's a pure unifying value that can actually work. Not just saying that we need to come together, but actually showing how. And that's by seeing and valuing the person's core within. What are they actually standing for? What are they actually trying to communicate here? So anyway, I want to see however many people will, really grasp my concept and what they think of it. So I know I don't have many viewers, so maybe this conversation will come back in a future video when I have more viewers and more people to participate, or if they come back to this video later. But this is what I see in the future. This is the government and structure of America that I see being the one that really sets us toward the beautiful coming golden age. And I say golden age because I see it creeping in. I see things completely shifting. And it's not because of one thing or another. It's because we got division fatigue. We, as the patriots and explorers of America, all the good people around even outside of America, that understand and see the value in the American cause. We see it and we're sick of division. But you don't fight hate with hate. You can't divide division with cutting it up into pieces. And when we're thinking about the part government plays in individuals' lives, that's up to us. If we give them power by listening to their narratives and not afterwards processing it for ourselves and challenging our own side, oh, my politician says this, so it must be the truth. Follow it blindly. But we've seen on both sides there is corruption, and that this corruption has blinded and confused a lot of people into hating their neighbors and their family just because they're trying to do what they believe is powerfully that is right. But they're believing that to be the case because they were fed that narrative by someone somewhere and didn't stop to take the time to evaluate it and listen to an alternative angle to see if after everything is still the best concept. And there's definitely corruption trying to lead, people for one case or another, whether it's into destruction, into taking power over somebody or the whole country. There are definitely entities that want to see America collapse and crumble. And so we have to look out for, obviously, corruption in situations like that. But the more that we see in the heart of people, oh, okay, this person on the opposing side, I see the heart of what they're saying. And they don't directly agree with me. They have all these other things that might make more sense than I can understand because it's not in my field. But I know that I know some things that they don't understand that aren't in their field. And as long as they're open to it, we can work together and make something beautiful. But when you can see people that are real, that are authentically standing for their strengths, for their side, and working together, then the other people that are just in it for corruption and that are not authentic, that are not genuinely bringing up valid concerns or painting a picture to try to get the people, the masses, to just listen to them because I'm a professional and you're not, so I'll just tell you how it is and then just believe me and follow me. Those people start standing out like a sore thumb because it's okay, bro, I looked for your heart and I didn't see it, or I see that you trapped it, or you're not allowing it to freely experience the whole story. You're just sticking to one side, and whether it's because they want to be right or because they have some alternative agenda, you can tell that it's not authentic, it's not genuine, it's not real. And so the more that you really allow yourself to consider the heart of other people, then you can start weeding out the bad ones on both sides. And, there's times where good people have even resorted to things that they don't agree with because they just know that they need to beat this other side that is currently being taken over by corruption. And if we can harmonize, then even the people that are good-hearted, that really have solid quality desires and plans, the only options are give up or do something sometimes that you don't agree with. But if we as individuals pull back some of the power that we give the government over our minds with the narratives, we don't take it away, we don't dismantle the government to take power back. We step back from the narratives, see through the lines that who's being genuine and who's being, pushing an agenda. And then the ones that are genuine see the value in both the genuine left and the genuine right, come together, and the rest just don't stand a chance anymore. People that are inauthentically trying to destroy the nation or the concepts that we all care about and love, by pushing a narrative, we can see through that. But we got to practice it. It's like a muscle that you got You got to start learning how to work out in order to improve our ability to discern the values versus the liars. So part of today's message, it turns out to be, is, you know, when I see people I care about, people I'm interacting with in the world that are, you know, afraid of what's happening in politics or the world around us, and they care in the only way they know how, you know, but they're afraid because they see so much of the alternate media where it's saying that what they stand for is wrong and bad and it's gonna ruin everything, or all the fear of their side saying, oh, what the other side's doing is corrupt and it's gonna tear everything apart. And all that is true, that either side on its own could be very dangerous. But instead of holding to the fear narratives, like I said in the past, fear is lame, just borrow some of my courage, my comfort if you need to. I've been really seeing through the cracks and seeing what is happening and what needs to happen to feel more healthy, feel more healed as a nation. And believe it or not, with the narratives and everything confusing everyone, we are actually on that route. We're on that path. It's going to happen, and sooner than we realize, because a lot of scientific advancements and future things that are coming out because of the good of the people that do know how to work together with their own individual strengths. There's a lot of beautiful stuff coming down the line. So, and I believe if you put more focus and attention on what you desire to happen, to come about, a world of peace and love, it'll start forming. You know, all of us collectively are putting in we're voting for the future we want based on what we put our focus on. And if you focus too much on this massive media push to get you to fear each other or hate each other or divide from one another, then that's the future you're voting on, is another divided one. Even if you think you're staying just updated. I found if you can really block out a lot of the narrative that's coming through, or a lot of the, you know, and it's not even like people are trying to push a narrative of fear. In some cases, they're just genuinely afraid, and they get online and make a video talking about their fears. But the more you put into that fear, or I got to find out what's the latest news about this person or that scandal, all that's going to do is keep you thinking about it and keep other people thinking about it and passing that energy on. And it's going to keep that unhealthy loop, unfortunately, going more than necessary. So the more people that can successfully step away from those things, the healthier we get very quickly. Because I've been living completely foreign, completely outside of that for a few months now. And that was not an easy transition to make. But once I decided to fully step away from what it seems like the world's trying to push in my face, and instead find the world that I want and create it right in my existence, right in my presence. And it's not being necessarily naive or ignorant and turning a blind eye. It's understanding that stuff is there and choosing to not look at it, because to me, it seems like the term I like to tell myself, remind myself, is that I don't, like they say, it's seeing is believing, you know, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. I like to turn it around sometimes and think, I'll see it once I believe it. If I can believe it well enough, and it stands the test of time and the test of the hardship of truths, then I will see it. It will come to exist and happen. But first, I need to believe it. I need to believe that it's possible, and then backtrack to find how it happens. You look into the future and see the future you want to see, and then you reverse engineer that future into existence. You say, okay, future me, how did the world end up that way? And future me says, well, you have to take these steps. And it's funny because it seems so clear to me, but I understand it's not to everyone. Everyone comes from a different perspective, so you may or may not have prepared certain thoughts of your processes, certain parts of your thought process to comprehend what I'm trying to say. But if you open your heart, I think you'll get the gist. And anyway, I believe that we are collectively choosing a life of peace and joy and unity, even if individuals you voted for may not make it into power or do. It's irrelevant, because it's the people, I mean, not completely irrelevant, but it's the people that are voting with their hearts. One thing that got me thinking a lot about American politics and just where we're at in the country and stuff is that from our perspective, you know, we're nitpicking little things here and there, but we really have such an amazing, beautiful country that we live in, and watching it through the eyes of North Korean defectors or people in other countries that don't have quite the freedoms that we have. And, you know, it's easy for us in our caged world to think that, to focus on the problem areas, which also need attention. That's part of maintenance, but don't pay so much attention that it looks terrible and horrible and you have to fight against your own friends just over little shifts that, you know, you feel so strongly about one side and they feel so strongly about the other, that instead of finding common grounds, you just hate on each other and try to vote the other one out of existence. It's just, it doesn't make sense. It's just way overboard. And I feel like we're on a path now to value America more. And as I'm cruising around in this beautiful setting on a beautiful day, nobody's here to stop me or complain about, you know, what I'm doing, because I'm not hurting anyone. But I've seen in some of those strict regime type of countries that that's not the case that everybody has. So I'm very fortunate to be here. And if you don't see that, look deeper, because there's so much beauty that we've already built. We don't want to tear it down and let others corrupt it. We just want to build more on that foundation. Very quickly, we're going to have the world that we all want. They want to divide us, divide and conquer, but we're not going to let them. Love you. Me and you together, we're going to make it to Mars. And we're going to do it in a structured way that makes sense and that pushes the boundaries. Keep it real. Now let's just enjoy the view for a while. These park areas. Hello. That's a beautiful lake I can go around. I think I'll do that. Didn't even know this was right here. Look at this site.